They paved the way for others. And they decide to succeed regardless of the cost. Now, if you're a settler is somebody who's content with staying the same and never advancing forward into new hopes and dreams. Their adventure button, and you may know a lot of people like that. You may know former coaches that were like that. It gets turned off and they succumb to this thing called mediocrity.
But we decided that we were going to be pioneers. We were going to be pioneers in our health because no one in our immediate family had ever made personal health a priority. And we decided to leave the land of settling almost 8 years ago. And we moved from the left of the spectrum, from ultra sick and unhealthy, to that place of being active. We made a generational shift for our family. And now Kat and I are 54 years old and we have done our 1,000 rides on Peloton. So that mindset...
She really likes my glutes.
I do. And that mindset carried into becoming health coaches. And can I just say to every one of us here, we have got to go home different. Your personal business did not grow while you're here this weekend.
Say that again.
Really?
Say
Your personal growth did not happen in your business this weekend, but you did. So maybe it was when Kristen talked about starting new coaches, or when Gina spoke about supporting and integrating clients well. I hope you got convicted because we did, but can I tell you that's the beginning of growth in our life? And if we can be really honest, it's not one decision that creates a destiny shift for us. It's 1,000 moments of what if that leads to writing a new map. So, being a pioneer always starts with a what if. Because settlers stop dreaming and they live to maintain. But what if we realized that we were created for more? And what if we ignored the voices of yesterday's pain points and answered today with a yes? Because pioneers are not born. They are the product and culmination of life stories leading to a climactic moment of let's go.
You know what I want to say to you? It's time to become some box breakers in this room. Perimeter stretchers. Status quo interrupters. A box breaker is someone that kicks down the walls that have held them captive, whether it's emotionally, physically, mentally, taking a sledgehammer to it and saying enough's enough. When I leave here, I'm actually going to be a little bit different this time. You know, let me tell you a story real quick. We grew up in generational poverty. Karen and I both did. Years and years, and thank goodness the government helped our family many, many times. Standing in those food stamp lines, those bread lines. I can remember catching that bread. My brother, Scott, was here. We caught that bread and cheese in the back of trucks. But I'll never forget doing a deep study into our family history, and I realized that my grandfather had come, great-great-grandfather, 4 generations, had come over from Europe and come all the way to Ellis Island. And what you have to understand is, read his story, began to find out about his story. Figured out where he signed in, Joseph Schatzley, German Jew. He came over in 1887, I believe it was. But when he went to get on that boat at 23 years old by himself, leaving everything behind, he went not the first, the good part, not the top of the boat. He went all the way down to steerage. He climbed on that boat by himself and he was broke. He was headed to a new land. He was a tanner. He created carriages and worked with leather. Landed in New York, settled in Michigan and Minneapolis, and some spread on out to Canada. And for years, I thought about that and I thought, well, there you go. That's our issue. We've always been steerage. We'll always be steerage. Bottom of the boat. But then one day I had a little personal awakening, which we need to do in this room. And all of a sudden I began to realize he went against the norms. You know what he did? He got on the boat. He broke some rules. He changed everything by getting on the boat. At least he got on the boat. And we found that if you're ever going to change, you got to get on the boat. Here's what we want you to understand. We have found that if you're going to break against status quo, you're going to have to be a rebel. Are there any rebels in this room?
I'm a rebel because I always live by Eleanor Roosevelt's statement that says well-behaved women rarely make history.
Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. I ain't never asked her to behave. All right? Hey, I'm going to tell you. Marry a redneck. They're crazy, but they're fun.
So maybe you're not a rebel.
Let's go.
But everything in you says, I can't stay where I'm at right now. If I stay here, I'm someday going to regret the fact that I didn't go all in. And the fear of not going all in and missing out on the adventure outweighs the desire to stay comfortable. Because our circle of influence was cheering us on when we decided to take back our health. But many of that circle could not continue on the journey when we decided to become a coach. But the rebel inside of us demanded that we had to help others walk and find freedom. But the settlers around us could not understand our why we would choose to leave our comfort zone and enter the unknown. But can I tell you, pioneers do not ask permission from those who have never left the comfort of familiarity.
You know why? Because pioneers enjoy the journey. It's the challenge, it's the push, it's what keeps you going. Settlers, they complain about what they could have changed. Pioneers choose to change what they had always complained about. Pioneers know that they have to plow through the forest in order to see a greater view of what lies ahead of them. Pioneers always embrace the obstacle as the way, and they push the limits of what they thought was possible. You know what, that pioneers, they have to do this every day. They have to choose whether they want to continue to pioneer or reclassify themselves as settlers, and that scares the heck out of me. Because pioneers refuse to use their life story as an excuse, but rather as a playbook.
So some of you still haven't realized that you were blessed with your story, not cursed with it. Your story is an opportunity for growth and expansion. It's a moment to find beauty in the unknown, and curiosity and discovery are your guide. Every decision we make today will meet us in our future. And it will impact not only our children, but our children's children, and for generations to come. Because pioneers are future freedom focused, while settlers are just momentary relief focused, momentary pain relief focused. And many of you know our story. Many of you know that 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, we went to China and we adopted our beautiful daughter, Abby, who's sitting up in the stands up there. She's 20 years old. This is a picture of me holding her for the very first time and looking into her eyes.
Whatever you want, Abby.
And now the next picture is her at 20 years old now as a boss CEO, as a junior in college, flourishing. But on the flight home from getting her to complete our family, I looked at Pat and I said, one day I will be an advocate for children worldwide. And just a couple of months ago, because our son is a state rep for Texas, his first bill that he ordered in the House, authored in the House, was a bill because he was so impacted by our life change with our daughter, that he authored a bill saying that the state of Texas would partner with nonprofits to make sure that every child in Texas would not be hindered by finances in their adoption and finding their forever home. I was able to stand in that Capitol, 20 years in the making, and advocate for every child in Texas. Your decisions matter. And we know most of the presenters that have been on this stage, and they all have stories. Yeah. They all have scars. They all have hurts. But they refuse to be defined by what could have buried them. They decided to continue growing, to continue climbing, exploring new territory, and discovering new frontiers. in order to become the person that their great-grandchildren would be proud of.
I'm just going to say it. You want to join this? Pioneers take risks. They throw caution to the wind. Settlers like the comfort of the surroundings that a pioneer created. And I need you to know, if you answer the call to be a pioneer today, then you decided that you would rather risk it all than stay on the sidelines. Your personal FOMO tells you to throw caution to the wind. Optavia, coaches, we must be different. Get out of the headspace of T-Gen and Frontline and get back to work and decide we're leading people into lifelong transformation. No more whining, no more excuses. This means loving people past their mindset, encourage them to be on their failures, and cheering until you ain't got no voice left.
Because in Optavia, we see a challenge and we meet it head on. We refuse to stop where other people quit. Because we know that the Oregon Trail was littered with wrecked wagons of those who gave up, those who turned back, those who simply settled and did not finish. But can we say it? Pioneering starts out really exciting. But the real proof is your ability to see the goal in the harshest of conditions. And what other people call risky, we call just wait and see.
Come on.
Because some of you are at the most dangerous place because you're at the very cusp of breaking through and you are being faced with the decision of whether or not to settle. Can I tell you, don't you dare settle, because your grandchildren will hear of your exploits and they will make decisions based off your bravery or your cowardice.
And a harsh reality of that is, and it might hurt, everybody's not going to stay with you on the journey. But I've always said this: we run with the runners, we walk with the walkers, and we wave to the settlers. And we say, we see you, we support you, but I can't stay with you. But I'm here if you need me. It's the scaffolding concept. If you ever built a house, man, when you're putting that house together and there's scaffolding all around it, it's ugly. But you can't get it right without scaffolding. Some of those folks that were with you early, they might be scaffolding. But now you go and find people that can handle load-bearing walls. Now you go find the ones that are going to walk. Listen, you've got to learn to shake it off. You know, I'm kind of a redneck, and I heard an old story about an old farmer and his mule. This old farmer lived on his plot. He loved that old mule. That mule was his best friend. One day he couldn't find the old mule. He went walking through the property and realized the mule had fallen into an abandoned well. He looked down there and he starts crying because he knows there's no way for him to get that old mule out. So he goes and grabs a shovel and he just starts throwing dirt down the hole. What he didn't realize is every time that dirt would hit that mule, he'd shake it off and stomp on it. For 2 days he did this, dumping it in. But he didn't know what was down there was shaking it off, stomping on it. Till eventually, about the third day, he's exhausted. And suddenly, he sees that old mule looking at him. Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? I want you to stand up where you're at right now. Everybody, stand up. I want you to shake it off what you've been through the last few months, and I want you to stomp on it right now. Let's go. You have to ask yourself, you have to make up your mind. Are you a pioneer or are you a settler? And you may not like this, what I'm about to say to you, because Karen made me do this part, but she didn't want to offend y'all. So, you'll be fine. All right, let's go. Stop. You might be a settler if holding on to your current life is more important than going after a better one. You might be a settler if you still got a plan B. You might be a settler if you value reputation more than your mission. You might be a settler if you allow obstacles and opinions to disrupt your vision. You might be a settler if you spend your life comparing other success to your lack of success. That's a thief of joy. You might be a settler if you'd rather complain than help create solutions. You might be a settler if you decided to keep using the same before and after picture for the last 2 years and not getting in motion and action. You do know it's time stamped, right? There's a timestamp on there.
So you might be a pioneer if the fear
Be
of
positive.
staying the same and where you're out far outweighs the fear of the challenge and the journey ahead. Or you no longer have a plan B, but instead you have decided that this has got to work and I will work it. And you value your mission far above the opinions of others. And you know that obstacles will come, but you view them as opportunities to grow into your destination. And you see other people's success not as a threat, but rather a motivation of what is truly possible. And you are way too busy living in creation mode to complain or whine about what hasn't happened yet. Because you live your life looking out the windshield rather than the rearview mirror. Because you keep your gaze fixed on the life that you are creating for future generations. Just like Dr. A and Lori did when they loaded up in a car with their girls, their beautiful girls, and they went across the country, leaving the comforts of a great job as a highly paid position just to tell the world about this thing that we all learned about called lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. When he traveled person to person, and Lori was the original coach, that's what I call
legacy.
this man.
Legacy. And they did it in the basement of their rental house. And he got in that horse and drove all over the country, met with Medifast, and within 6 months, it went from a $3 million company to a $30 million. That's what I'm talking about. Pioneer. So I want you to understand something. Are you willing to answer your next today? Are you willing to run to your destiny when it seems impossible? The way you answer that question today will determine whether or not you are a settler or a pioneer. Listen, you got to choose in this season. You choose. Your choice, rather, will determine whether you eventually guide people into a life of health and freedom or be responsible for the ones you never changed. The Daily Mirror demands an answer. Your to-do list demands an answer. Your why is standing at the end of your bed every morning demanding an answer. So I'm going to say it. I can't go back to yesterday. I can't go back to last March. I can't go back to, I've got something to do today.
So we want to leave you with this one last thing. Just remember, life is a grand adventure. Embrace every part of that adventure, and let's get out there and let's pioneer.
God bless you.